everyone, my name is Karis. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little different. I honestly was not planning on filming today. I had already filmed a few other videos for the upcoming couple of weeks, and I was going to do homework and all of that today. But for some reason this week, I've just been thinking a lot about mental health, and I know there's just a lot of people who struggle with it, but I know we don't always hear about those struggles, and I felt led to just kind of open up about my personal struggles with mental health. And trust me, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want especially people that I know to watch this video. The idea of like someone watching me be super vulnerable and stuff, it's kind of scary. But the one thing that does encourage me in doing this is because I know there are so many people out there who are struggling. There are so many out there who just really don't know how to get out of some of the darkest part of life. And as someone who's experienced a glimpse of those moments that you might be in right now, I want to open up and share with you how I went through it, and I don't know, maybe it will help somebody out there going through a rough time right now. So yeah, let's get right to it. So I am going to be coming at this from the perspective of someone who's dealt with some mental health issues, in particular anxiety and a little bit of, I would say, depression as a young adult, as well as like college student and a college athlete. So I'm going to start off with a little backstory about myself. So I was adopted from Ethiopia, Africa at the age of 9. And honestly, I transitioned to the American life pretty easily. I was able to learn the language fairly quickly. I played a lot of sports growing up. I have a really loving family and stuff. But as I got older, a lot of the trauma that I had gone through as a child kind of started coming towards the forefront of my brain, which was so weird because I thought since I transitioned so well to America and my life here, that I really had conquered that stage of transition and that I would never really struggle with things that happened to me when I was a kid. But when I got to college, I just kind of really started thinking about some of the hard things that I'd gone through as a child in Ethiopia. I was in an orphanage. That it was a loving orphanage and stuff, but the reason I was in an orphanage was because my grandma, who was taking care of me up until the age of 7, got diagnosed with HIV, which is a very common disease in Ethiopia, and she couldn't take care of me anymore. And at 7 years old, I had to take care of her and make sure like she wasn't gonna die. And we just weren't sure what would happen to me if she were to die, so I went into an orphanage, which ended up being a great blessing because I was then later able to be adopted. But when you're a kid, you just kind of think about all the good things that ended up happening. Like, I got to come to America, I got to be adopted to a loving family, and you just completely hide all the trauma that had happened to you prior to that. And one of the biggest traumas I had endured when I was in Ethiopia was sexual abuse at a very young age. And this was something I did not tell anybody until my sophomore year of college, because I hadn't really realized what had happened to me was like a big deal. I had just kind of told myself these stories to make myself feel better and make it seem like those hard things never really, the sexual abuse never happened. But in reality, it did happen. And for some reason, it just hit me hard as soon as I entered my sophomore year of college. And that's kind of when I really started dealing with some of my mental health issues. And then on top of that, other than the sexual abuse thing that like came to the forefront of my brain out of nowhere, I had transferred colleges, so this is still my freshman year. I went to a different school my freshman year, first semester, played volleyball there, and decided I just didn't really like the school and it wasn't a good fit for me. So I went ahead and I transferred that winter to a different school. And for the first time ever, I felt this very deep loneliness, which is so weird because the school I transferred to, it's filled with so many sweet people. Everybody was friendly, but I just didn't have a close friend, and it was so hard to just not have that best friend. And so during that time, I just had so much time to think about all these depressing things that I had kind of gone through as a kid. And on top of that, I just really wanted to find a good friend, and I just couldn't find that person. And I just like fell into this very, very dark place, which ironically, at that time, I didn't really think I was in a dark place. I don't know, I just thought it was normal to be sad. I was like, oh, I'm just trying to adjust to the new school and new life. Like, I can't just expect to come to a new school and find a whole bunch of great best friends. But now I look back, I'm like, the way I really acted during those days, like, that was not me, and I was definitely in a dark place. But during those times, one thing that really, really helped a lot, well, I'm not going to say just one, there's multiple things, but I was just starting to talk to my boyfriend that I'm dating now. We started dating that semester, actually, and he personally has bipolar 1. And so he is very, very in tune with mental health and all of that. And that was not something I really knew much about. I mean, I knew people struggled with depression and anxiety, but for a long time, I just thought those people were just being dramatic, and it was something they could just like get over if they just worked hard enough and tried harder to stop being so depressed. I'm like, just be happy, just smile, choose joy. Like, what's wrong with you? So that's really all I knew about mental health, and I just did not really understand it. But talking to my boyfriend and listening to his experience of like how it was like going through the early stages of bipolar 1, and then how medication and counseling has just really helped him, he was able to then like listen to me, and as I talked about some of the struggles that I was going through, and he was able to direct me towards some professional help that I would have never gone to if he hadn't talked me into it and told me the importance of it. And he tried to tell me like counseling was like something I should seek out, and it took about 8 months for me to finally be like, yeah, you're right, like I should probably go to counseling now. So after an entire semester of just kind of going through the same dark place, I finally talked to my mom, and we decided it would be best for me to go ahead and seek some counseling. And counseling was, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it was so good looking back now, but at that moment, as I was doing counseling, oh my gosh, it was so hard. I remember going into my first counseling meeting, and asking myself like, wow, I must really be so screwed up if I like need somebody else to tell me how to be happy, how to get over myself and stop being so sad about stuff that happened to me such a long time ago. And I went into that first counseling appointment, and it really, like, my counselor just made me feel like it's okay to want to go to counseling, and like it actually takes a lot to admit that like you need help, because most people would never get to that point in their life. But then as I went through my first few appointments, I was just talking about all these hard things I had gone through that I really had no idea had affected me so much. I had no idea that there was just like that much hurt and pain inside of me. Because for a long time you just, I don't know, like you get used to life and you don't realize like some things are really hard. And I had such a terrible habit of comparing my situations to other situations, I would just be like, well, there's, people in Africa who never got the opportunity to be adopted and live in America where they have so much opportunity. And I would just play that card all the time, and I realized like that's so not healthy. But as I would just go through those first few counseling appointments, I just remember like having to then go back home and reflect on everything that I just spilled my gut out about, like all the things I really had no idea were bothering me until somebody was asking me and letting me just talk. And I'm sorry, I don't want to be emotional. You just, like, you don't even understand sometimes how hurt and broken you really are until you go to somebody and they just let you talk and just empathize with you. Like, I don't think we do enough of that in this world. Just listen to one another and empathize with others, because like the difference it makes in someone's life to just be told that they're not crazy for feeling the way they feel is astronomical. And the crazy part is like I'm in a good place right now. And the reason I'm crying is not because it's not because I'm, sad and depressed at this moment. It's because I'm looking back at those days, and I just wish I knew what I knew now in those moments. I wish I knew that I wasn't being weak, I wasn't being stupid, I wasn't being irrational, and the things I was feeling at that moment, like, they were real. And I wish I was easier on myself, and I wish I wasn't so stubborn to seek help. I wish I didn't equate counseling and medication to weakness, because sometimes that's what our culture tells us, is that if we seek for help, then we must be weak and we can't handle it on our own. And that's so not true. That's so not true. So, I'm so sorry I'm being a wreck right now. I don't even know if I'm going to post this video, but I just want to now step into the next part of the video where I talk to you, like, the things I did during those times, during those moments that helped me. This is not like any kind of prescription to you. I'm not going to sit here and say you have to do this to stop being anxious and stop being depressed and all of that. No, not at all. But I just want to tell you what I've done and what has helped me. So some of the things I did, which I already mentioned, one was counseling, but then the other one is I actually got on medication, and this was something I resisted for a long time. I thought if I accepted the idea of needing medicine, then that meant like I was just so weak that I couldn't deal with it on my own, even though when anybody else would talk to me about their mental health situation, like, for example, my boyfriend, I would never want him to get off of his medicine, because I see what the medication does to him. Like, it really balances the chemical imbalance that is in his brain, and it's so important, like, for him to take his medication. Like, I would not be with him if he did not take his medication. However, for some reason, when I felt like when I was told my benefit from medication, I just was totally turned off to it until I started having more anxiety, where before I was more so, I think, dealing with the depression aspect, but then this summer I had awful anxiety, and for a while I think I had gone through anxiety, but I had dismissed it as just like, oh, I'm just being too much of a perfectionist, which is a tendency that I do have. So I remember I would study for hours for tests, and then right before the test I would freak out. I would just like be shaking, thinking I'm gonna fail the test, which would then somehow make me fail at life. It was just insane now I think about it, but in my head that was like rational for me to be like that before every test, for me to just like freak out. And then I even remember, like, in the middle of volleyball games, I would like make one error and I'm like, wow, if we lose this game, it's all because of me. And I was just never like that type of a person. So I was like, okay, this is definitely affecting my life. And then what really just broke me to the point where I'm like, okay, I need a serious help was my anxiety started coming out in the form of back pain. So I guess I carry all my stress on my back. And I remember like days and days of not being able to like sit up straight or not being able to exercise because my back was in so much pain. And it was always during the times of when I had like a lot of triggers around me that I would feel like this. And it wasn't until recently when I started going to physical therapy that we realized that my back problem had nothing to do with like an injury from sports or anything like that. It was literally all because of my anxiety. So I went to the doctor and I started taking a very low dosage of medication. And after like a couple months, I felt like it really helped with stabilizing my mood, but it definitely did not help with the anxiety part. And then like a month ago, I got on a different kind of medication that has helped so much. Like 3 months ago, 2 months ago, I could not imagine sitting here and like opening up to you all about some of the stuff I've gone through. Like it's so crazy. But because of the combination of therapy and medicine and people around me who just really have been such a light, I've been able to be at this place where I can kind of open up and share some of my hurt with y'all. And I'm not going to sit here and say like every day since I got on medication has been perfect. Like, no, I still have to constantly choose to want to, continue counseling, continue my medication, continue to be open with those around me when I'm not doing well. So my very first tip is counseling and, if you can, medication, but make sure you go to the right people, to the professionals to guide you through that. You don't want to just like start on some random medicine and find out it's gonna be like harmful for you, but don't think that because you chose the medication and counseling route, it must mean that you're weak and you can't handle it on your own, because that was definitely the mentality that I had. Also, I'm sorry if the lighting is like really weird. I'm trying to just film with natural sunlight, because one thing that really helps me whenever my mood is kind of low is sun. And when I usually film, I have my blinds down and then I just crank up my ring light, and that's not really good on my eyes. So I'm just trying to take care of my mental health as I'm talking to you about mental health. But another thing I really wanted to mention is, please, please, please know that you're not alone. I know it's so easy to think you're alone and that nobody else could possibly feel what you are currently feeling. However, there are so many people around us who are hurting. We just don't know it, because naturally as humans, we want to put on this front that we have it all together, that everything is perfect, that we're not struggling. But in reality, there are so many people around you that are also hurting and struggling. One more thing, and that is, know that once you get out of those dark places, it is just so beautiful to experience life on the other side. When I was in those just like terrible moods and having like those terrible days, I never really imagined myself talking about these days and in a way being thankful for them. And the reason why I'm so thankful for having gone through those dark places is because I am now able to relate with people on such a much deeper level. Before, if somebody would have came to me and told me that they were struggling with anxiety and depression, I would have been like, yeah, okay, whatever, you probably are fine, you're just being dramatic. But now, because I've gone through it myself, because I know how lonely and sad it is to be in those dark places, I'm able to sit down and empathize with somebody at such a much deeper level. So that's about it. I'm sorry this video is kind of lengthy. One thing I do want to say is, first of all, please, please, please know that I did not make this video to make you feel so sad and so sorry for me. Like, that is the last thing I want. The only reason I am being open and honest with you and with my experience is because I know that there's so many others out there who can benefit from hearing someone open up and admit that they don't have it all together and they are hurting, because For example, as we scroll through social media, all we see is a highlight reel. We see perfection, and we think like, oh my gosh, I really am messed up because these people are able to live such a perfect life, and here I am, I can't even get out of bed. So I wanted to be the counter example of that and just share with you that you're not alone, and life does suck sometimes. And it's okay to admit that. It's okay to sit for a little bit and be very upset at your circumstances, but eventually just know that um, you're going to want, you have to want to seek help. You have to want to get out of those moments. And then when you do, please know that it's going to take work. It's not going to happen overnight. But when it does happen slowly, it's going to be so beautiful. You're going to be able to relate to so many other people. You're going to have so much more compassion for others in this world, which is, compassion is such a huge thing that we can all use a little of. And lastly, just again, know that you're not alone, and know that your mental illness does not define who you are. It does not make you broken. It does not make you a weak person. If anything else, it makes you so much more beautiful. And I really, truly need that. So yeah, that's it for today. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you want to see more videos like this. I am a little bit more transparent on my Instagram as well. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, feel free to do so. But that is it for today. Feel free to check out these other videos that I'll have up on the screen. But until next time, bye.